Good morning, everybody. It's Catherine Cooke here, leading business advisor and founder of The Engine. And today I'm here with my mate, Greg Wertheim, all the way from the Taranaki. For those of you who don't know Greg used to be the general manager for ScotPac New Zealand. And basically, he moved back to the Taranaki to be closer to his wife's family. Good morning to you, Greg.
Good morning, Catherine. Thank you for the
Nice,
intro.
nice to see you. And I understand this morning you're not in Taranaki, you're actually in the big smoke of Wellington.
I am indeed the mighty metropolis of Wellington. Been here since yesterday, just getting out and about, seeing brokers and prospective businesses. Fortunately, because I can.
Perfect. And so you've already got the earthquake drill and you realise that you can't leave this LinkedIn Live, so you'll just have to put your hands over your head should something happen.
Don't worry, I've got my crash helmet right under my feet, so I'm good to go.
So look, Greg, you and I met nearly 4 years ago, and obviously I'd been having discussions with Scott Peck in my capacity as a business advisor, obviously looking for the solution that you provide to help businesses that I work with, and just to get the message out there. Now, I've been a fan for invoice and debtor financing for a very long time. I had one of your colleagues on here a few weeks back, and basically with invoice financing, the reason I like it a lot is you go to bed and sleep at night. You don't actually have to worry about losing your house or losing your
Yep,
holiday house. It's all indexed to invoices. So it's business to business, right?
correct, yes.
And what does business to business mean? Like, is it for every industry or is it for selected business to business industries?
That's a really good question, Catherine. It's for most industries, as long as it is, like you say, a business to business transaction or invoice, as we call it, can be service or it can be finished goods. We will fund most industries. Probably the one we do stay away from would be the construction industry, mainly because the way invoicing works in that industry, you have things like stage payments, progressive payments, you have retention. So it has a tendency to make the invoices a little bit messy where, for example, importers, wholesalers, recruitment firms, invoices are really clean, tidy. The service is procured or the goods are delivered. They get sent off to the customer. They got to wait, as you know, up to 35, 40, sometimes even 50 days to get paid. And as we do, we will fund 80% of that invoice pretty much straight away. So certainly we unlock that accounts receivable ledger and give them working capital to keep doing what they want to do and growing their business.
Absolutely. And look, we've had a number of your clients, John and Fiona Harlan from ERG Recruitment, who absolutely sing the praises of Scott Peck. So clearly, you've actually, I mean, the thing I like about invoice financing is the facility grows as the business needs it. So that obviously means the business will grow. So just talk to the viewer about that. Like, you know, if I today decided that I wanted to inquire about working with you, and I'm doing business to business and I qualify in terms of industry, and I need a facility, what kind of hoops do I need to go through to be assessed?
Okay. Well, hopefully you don't have to go through not too many hoops. It is really simple because we can sort of have a look at a business and very quickly, firstly, tell whether we can or we can't fund it, particularly if it falls in those industries that we know really well. And then from there, literally, we would just like to see their debtors, see what kind of debtors they have, the quality of their debtors. We want to know a little bit about them as a business. But having said that, we do have the capacity to fund startup businesses. Our main risk sits around that invoice. So while, yes, it's important that the business we're funding is established and it's got a good track record, sometimes a startup business doesn't have that luxury. And of course, a startup business trying to go to a bank, for example, trying to get funding, unless they give the kitchen sink their kidneys and their liver, they're not really going to get any funding. Where we will look at a paper trail, look at the invoice, and look at the debtors. So our main risk lies in those debtors. And if we're happy with the debtors that a would-be prospect is dealing with, and they've got some pretty good systems in place, we call it paper trail process, we'd happily look at that and we can set it up really quickly. You know, we're not going to ask you to write the Fifth Amendment all over again to get you on board. It's a pretty simple process. And, you know, you have the BDM literally hand-holding the prospect straight through the process. And then once it goes to settlement, you get handed over to your own dedicated client relationship manager, and they will look after the business going forward.
Oh, fantastic. Sounds very seamless. So, in terms of basically you've approved me, let's just say for a facility, might be a facility around $200,000, and then suddenly I get a contract about, I don't know, 4 to 8 weeks later, and I know I'm going to need to increase the facility. Now, with most banking institutions, you've got to prove your ability before you can get an increase. What happens with invoice financing?
There's probably two ways you can look at it. Firstly, if you knew about that contract coming on board, if it was fairly close by and you hadn't had it say settlement, but you said to me, look, I've got this contract coming on board, it's going to be worth X amount of dollars. So even though currently I'm sort of applying for $200,000 limit, I'm actually going to need 300, 400, $500,000. We could probably set that in place at the time we're setting up the facility. Because based on, as I said, our facility, our limits go on sales and future sales. So we could do that pretty much straight away to save you even the hassle of having to come back and say, oh, I need an increase on my facility limit. But even if that's the case, that didn't happen, you'd simply go to your client relation manager, could be Lindsay, could be Chris, could be Ashley, anyone, and say, guys, I might have only been with you for a month or 2 months, but I've got this new contract. I need an increase in my facility limit. We can do it really quickly. We can put it in place pretty much straight away. There would be a little bit of paperwork, but we're not going to again go through a whole new rigmarole of a credit process and get you to send all the information again. It'll be very quick. And you use the word seamless, and that's what we try to be all the time. We want to be as seamless, and we don't want to interfere in any of our clients' businesses. We just want to sit beside them quietly, seamlessly, and support their business going forward with that working capital requirements.
Absolutely. And look, at the end of the day, that's how it should be, right? Like we're here to walk alongside them, ensure that they need to, well, that they have the facility to get them where they need to go, and not hamstring them. And that's really, really important. And, look, if I think back to the days of when I was doing invoice finance at agency finance, like it was really having a strong, close relationship with your client. Like it was understanding their business, their passion, their destination, and everything in between. And what I can really say from my personal experience with ScotPac and being on the journey with them for the last 5 years, well, in fact, probably a bit longer, in terms of knowing the people that work there, is the retention of your people, like your staff. You don't have a high turnover, they stay, they're happy, they're committed to working with the businesses that you have. And so, Greg, coming back to you, it must have been really hard leaving the team in Auckland, moving down Taranaki. I know that there was the pull with the family to go down there, but how are you working in an isolated environment?
It was really hard, I guess, making the decision. I suppose I've made those kind of decisions for in my career, like leaving South Africa for one. That was an extremely hard decision, but did it. I'm a very much an instinctual sort of decision maker. I go with my gut. Having said that, working with the team in Auckland, just couldn't have asked for a better team to work with. So good, so accommodating. They really do put the client first. We're very client centric. And yeah, it was pretty hard. And then I suppose going to Taranaki, New Plymouth, compared to Auckland, it's a little bit slower pace, you could say. But having said that, I get to still get out and about. I still get to work for ScotPac. So I'm eternally grateful that ScotPac sort of said to me, look, we'd love to keep you on board, go and do a BDM role and look after the lower North Island. So, very appreciative of that. And like I said, I'm in the groove now. It probably took a couple of months. Probably me, the hardest thing was just getting used to working from home full time. For over 30 years, I've gone to an office every day and worked, other than the good old pandemic. So I've had to learn a few tricks and how to work from home smartly and not, stupidly type thing. So 10 months down the line, I'd like to think I've got into the groove. And then I get to do these things, come down and travel, excuse me, and get to meet wonderful people, whether it's prospective clients, brokers we work with, bankers we work with. So yeah, but to your original question, very hard to say goodbye to the team, but they haven't got rid of me. As much as they think they have, I'll go back and still bug them every now and again. So there you go.
Yeah, and look, they say you're only as good as the people that you work with, and you do have a great bunch of people, and you've mentioned a few of them in the client relationship team, and also, Baldish, who is, also a very dear friend of mine and yours,
Yeah.
working tirelessly in the background, crunching numbers and doing what needs to be done to ensure that deals get across the line. So, look, take my hat off to you. Didn't realise for 1 minute in the whole 4 years that we've known each other that you were South African. So I'll stop talking about the All Blacks, although after the weekend game, I think I'll stop talking about them altogether, to be quite frank.
Happy not to talk rugby. We can just bypass that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, look, the whole reason I got you on here is I was absolutely excited when I heard about ScotPac releasing a SME Bounce Back Fund, and really excited to hear the dynamics behind it. So I can on board, right, and I can have 3 months interest free. It sounds too good to be true. Talk us through that.
Well, I'll be honest, even when, we got presented as a team and they said, we've got this bounce back fund coming along and it's going to be 3 months interest free, the skeptic in me also said, well, okay, where's the catch? The great thing is there's absolutely no catch. So as we know, businesses are slowly coming out of lockdown, both in Australia and New Zealand. I think the poor Aucklanders, you guys, is at day 100 today, but those traffic lights are starting to work apparently. So more and more businesses will be coming out of lockdown and being able to hopefully go back to the normal or the new normal. But certainly there would have been impacts on those businesses, whether it's been through revenue or just day-to-day operations. So we've decided we want to give businesses a hand up, and get them basically back running as quick as they can to hopefully pre-pandemic days. So, our guys have got this $100 million fund that they've set aside to say any business with a limit or an exposure up to $1 million, their first 3 months will be interest free, and there are no caveats, no sort of deferred or compounding interest charges where we tag it on at the end of a term or at the end of a period or just quietly put it on the back of the loan. It literally is what it says it is. 3 months interest free. It's to help businesses get back on their feet and just give them a bit of breathing space financially. And as I said, we take huge pride in supporting our businesses. We really do believe strongly in the relationship bit. I'm old school. I'm not a fan of speaking to machines or trying to work out machines. I can't understand half the bloody machines, to be honest. So I like that talking face to face. I like to eyeball people as we do at ScotPac. And we want our clients to be able to not feel uneasy calling us or talking to us. So that's how we build the base of the relationship. So this 3 month interest-free thing is fantastic. So for all new clients coming on board, and they sort of have the need for that, we'll happily get them on board and help their business financially as well as sort of, revenue building and stuff like that.
Absolutely. And look, what I find as a business advisor is that, you've got business owners out there trying to wear so many hats, and then they've got the stress of the cash flow. So if you can free that cash flow stress and get them to concentrate on the sales, then obviously the sales is going to increase that invoice finance facility, because the more sales you make, the more invoices you have, right?
Yep. And look, business owners, yet I sort of read it somewhere that no business owner says their favorite part of their job is collecting out outstanding invoices. Business owners are in industry they love, that they're passionate about, and they love their business, and that's what they want to concentrate on. As I said, ScotPac will come in there, sit as their silent partner, providing them the tools, the working capital for them to achieve their goals and aspirations. Sit quietly with them, and they don't, like you say, have to sit at night worrying about trying to wear too many hats. Let us take care of your working capital needs, Mr. and Mrs. Business Owner. You just concentrate on what you love. Build your business in the industry you love, you're passionate about, and we'll sit and help you grow. And we'll go on this journey with you. And it's a fantastic journey. We have clients that have been with us over 20 years. Our average client probably stays with us between 4 to 6 years. And as I said, that relationship is built there and then with our client managers, who also have been, I think the shortest serving client managers, probably 6 years. We have others that have been 8, 10, 12 years. So they get to know their clients so well. And going back to that, when we know our clients so well, you made a point about increasing limits earlier. Businesses get certain stages where they have a bit of a sort of hiccup or they need instant cash straight away. Because we have such good relationship, we can even provide extra funding without even going through an increase of limits over a short term. So a business owner might say, look, I've got this tax bill that came out of nowhere, or I want to buy this equipment from a fire sale, but I need an extra 40, 50, 60, 100 grand. We'll work with them and probably get that money without even having to fill out another piece of paper, really, as long as it's a short-term turnaround. And that goes back on the strength of our relationships, because we know the clients well. and we believe in their business, so we're happy to support them.
So just for the layperson watching this and they're hearing you talk about the tax bill, probably need to clarify that you don't just pay tax bills, that the tax bill would still need to be indexed towards a purchase or a sale transaction between business to business. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's really the key to it, is that if you can keep your business and organisation working on the sales front, it really does simplify your whole cash flow model. What I really love about invoice financing, though, is it does keep the personal separate from the business. And I know you're talking about having, clients that have been with you 4 to 6 years, and you said 20 years. Back in the day when I was doing invoice financing, it was considered, if you were doing invoice financing, you must be bad, you couldn't get money from the bank, to help you. That's simply not the case. It really is an amazing finance solution that is almost the same cost as the bank when you actually think about the time spent in terms of actually, running around like a headless chook. And people don't equate time against money. They just basically look at the dollars. So Greg, if somebody was watching this right now and they're going, I've got an overdraft facility, and that's paying at an interest rate of, let's just say, 12%. I don't know what are overdraft fees. I mean, I've got clients on all different rates, but what's the average overdraft fee right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty close. It's quite simple. If you just go onto interest.co.nz, you've got all the business bank overdraft rates there, and they vary from about 10% to about 15, 16%. And there's a few other costs. Some of them even go as high as 17% per annum. So certainly we could match any business bank overdraft rate out there, and we could probably better some of them as well. The key really is it's the understanding is, if you have a client that's paying a fairly low rate, they've normally got their house on hook as well. And, you always say you're a great sort of promoter of, sleep well at night, knowing that, you're not going to lose your house if something goes wrong with the business. And that's what we do. We don't ask for any mortgage security. We just simply lend as a commercial financier on the back of a GSA, and they don't have to worry about the mortgage security. So we don't, and we certainly don't want to compete with the mortgage rates, just not our game. But we absolutely can compete with really any business bank overdraft rate out there. And if you go and look at interest.co.nz, and I promise you I haven't got a plug, they're not paying me to plug them for this. You look at the rates, we're definitely there and thereabouts. And in some instances, we could probably even better some of those rates depending on the size of business, risk, industry that we're looking to fund.
So coming back to the Bounce Back Fund, obviously this is not something that's going to be available forever. So is it until it runs out? Is it an expiry date of sort of April next year? What are you looking at, ScotPac?
It's the either or. So we're running it through till April next year.
Wow, how good am I?
There you go. You've done your homework. You've obviously read the sort of collateral. But yeah, so April next year, or if it runs out sooner. So there's no sort of real hard and fast to it. And I'd love to say it actually runs out sooner than April. Certainly from the inquiry I've had, talking to my broker connections and banking connections, there's a great interest. And this extends across Australia and New Zealand. So, yep, I'd love to say, we'll extend it. And the fact that we've restricted, I think, is quite good as well, to $1 million lend, because, it's pointless if we bring out this bounce back fund. And, we've got a few clients in Australia that do lend $100 million odd there and then. So the point is giving it just to one client. So it's been very good the way they've structured it. So it gives everyone a fair go to have access to that.
And look, I can tell that your brokers are engaged. I had an email in my inbox a few weeks back from one of your brokers in Wellington, Patrick, and then I had a phone call with him because actually, obviously, I refer business down to him as well, and he was just so excited. But he said, what an amazing opportunity for businesses. And that's not somebody who works for ScotPac. That's just somebody who sees this as a really amazing savings opportunity. And so, look, if I was to really put my business advisory hat on, though, the key to actually managing finances in the business very well is to have a really robust cash flow, to actually know your numbers. How often, Greg, are you getting businesses coming to you that really have no idea about the numbers in their business? And what comfort or discomfort do you have from them turning up like that?
Quite often, you know, and it depends obviously the type of business, the size of business, you know, and as I said, we fund all scales. We can fund a startup, we can fund an established business that does $100 million turnover, but, you know, there is a large section that they'll come to us, whether it's through a broker, banker, or direct even, and they really are struggling. And it goes back to the point you made earlier about just wearing too many hats. And like I said, business owners love what they do. They're passionate about the industry, the business they've chosen. And I can see that with you, with your business, how passionate you are, how much you love it. But they quite often don't, and it's not their fault. They sometimes just can't keep up with the housekeeping. So, you know, little things like, and I always say, and I have a huge amount of respect for any business owner, because, you know, you've got so much you've got to do, and then you're responsible to pay wages, and you've got to keep the IOD happy as well. And I think those two certain issues, paying salaries and keeping ID up to date, are so crucial to a business. And if you get behind, you get yourself in a lot of trouble. So business owners need help. And for me, it's just a question of they should really ask for it. Quite often they don't, or sometimes they don't want it because they think it's a bad thing. But, you know, I would always, you know, we look at the prospective client, and you can pick it up fairly quickly going, well, who's helping you? And sometimes it might be the accountant, or it might not be. Then, you know, I'd say, well, you need to really talk to a good business advisor to basically help you keep your business on track, set you cash flow forecasts, keep you honest, and for me, it's keeping the housekeeping up to date is the most important thing. Quite often I'll get a business owner coming to me where their housekeeping's in an absolute shambles. And, you know, sometimes not even us, we can't even sort of resurrect that. So it's so important. And that's where I see you as business advisors, keeping them honest. And when I say honest, really just keeping their housekeeping up to date, so they don't get into trouble or strife, or where they get to a point where they can't pay salaries or they can't pay their bills. And of course, you've got all the other stuff, all the other creditors that come into play as well.
I'm glad that you said like me, because I was actually going to say, do you know of any good business advisors, Greg?
I'm looking at one right now.
I was actually talking to a client of mine earlier this week, actually, about business advisory, and we were just, in fact, his words, not mine, his words, he said, there's a lot of cowboys that have emerged through COVID that suddenly are business advisors. And I said, you reckon? And that's a reality, is that, you know, there are a lot of people popping up thinking it is a good career move because of the funding that's available, but you actually need to do the business a justice and be credible in your service. So I do encourage anyone who has started out into business advisory to get along someone who is qualified, as in has done the yards in terms of helping businesses, so that you can become the best business advisor that you can be too. So so it's really important, as you said, Greg, to have someone there for, you know, accountability and also capability, because we can't be in the business all the time. So we actually need to teach them the capability. I've got a standard end of month process that I put into the businesses, and they've never ever done anything like it, but they get the visibility, and then you've got to keep on top of them, almost like a PA reminder. You know, needing.
But you also get to remove the emotional attachment too, Catherine, and that's really important. So, you know, business owners, it's their life, it's their livelihood, it's their blood, where you can come in totally independent without too much emotional attachment, and then just stick to the plan. And as long as you get your business to stick to the plan, that should work pretty well.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I also think, though, as a really good business advisor, you do need to have humility and also a little bit of an emotional attachment with that client. I mean, you still can separate it out and work on the business, but to have that affinity, you kind of need to just jump in their shoes as well and understand that pain point. And unless you've actually had that adversity, it can be really hard to actually understand where that person's coming from. You know, I really don't understand why they're behaving like that. And it's like, well, you need to flip it and actually just be in their shoes and just try and understand it to be able to advise. Look, Greg, in terms of the clients that you've got, are you able to give the viewers a case study of a client that you're working with, or ScotPac are working with for a number of years in industry time, and what ScotPac have done for that business?
I can think of a whole lot of reasons. The one I think is probably one that's been with us a very long period of time. And if you know the Under Armour brand, they approached us and they got the rights in New Zealand to basically distribute the Under Armour brand. This would have been about probably 10, 12 years ago. And they've already had a few facilities with us as well. So they already seen the benefit of how well Invoice Finance works. But of course, this was a brand new business again, separate from the other businesses, about to distribute really an unknown brand. And of course, today you see Under Armour everywhere. You see them on English football shirts, you see them at rugby stadiums, you see them in New Zealand. Which is named the boxer. He sort of goes around as well. His name escapes me now. So we've helped them get to a point also where they were able to get the stock in and distribute them to the likes of Rebel Sports and other sort of outlets. And it's just worked incredibly well. And this is what we do. We give that business. I mean, our mission statement is giving business owners a better chance of success. And we've certainly done that with that business. And the other ones as well, you mentioned John and Fiona, helping them sort of grow their business. There's a lot of examples. I'm not going to say we're going to double a business's turnover in, overnight or even within a year, but we just work with that business. And as I said, as soon as they see the value, the amount of times I've actually heard clients actually say, gee, I wish I'd known about this earlier, or why didn't anyone ever sort of talk to me about this earlier? And that's just music to our ears, because as I said, that specific client, we've been on a journey with him and his business for over 20 years. And it still continues to flourish, even through sort of, whatever good and bad times. And it's just been so nice to be part of that. Nothing makes me happier. I walk around with a Under Armour, whether it's a polo shirt, shoes, whatever, and I go, well, hey, that's our client. It's just a great advertisement and supporting the clients as well.
Yeah, what an amazing story. And look, I say that to businesses who are importing product in, and I say to them, yes, it's a good idea to go direct and sell it yourself, but if they could actually build a dealer network and sold it to other businesses, then they'd be able to use your facility to be able to do invoice financing. And they're like, oh, there's a really good idea. And the risk is actually reduced somewhat as well. Like, they don't have the risk of retail. They've got a dealer network, which means that they've got influencers and promoters and additional salespeople. But now they're actually selling to those dealers. They can then obviously invoice finance. By doing B2C, they can't do that at all.
Yeah.
So it's growing another business model that they hadn't actually thought about. And as I say to people, you only know what you know, and what you don't know will fill the gaps in. So just to wrap this up, because I know that you're in Wellington and you need to get going. You've got a full day, as I have, in terms of clients. What pearls of wisdom can you offer the people that are watching this to get in touch with you on the ScotPac Business Finance SME Bounce Back opportunity?
Well, I think it's quite simple. If a business owner is frustrated, they're feeling they've been restricted in their growth or their growth aspirations, and they've got to a point where their current financier can't actually help them, come and have a chat to us, because we can certainly unlock their accounts receivable very quickly to give them that working capital, to allow them to go to the next level. Like businesses, why would you want to wait till you get paid to be able to get your next order or get your next order through? With ScotPac, we can let you do that straight away. It even gives you some strong discount bargaining or negotiating skills you can do with your supplier. So any business that is cash strung, if you know what I mean, so they're struggling with their cash flow because they can't build it and they can't get any funding from their current financiers, come and have a talk to us, because we can certainly help. As I said, most industries as well, and I can sort of say very quickly to say whether, yep, we can help or we can't. I certainly won't waste a business owner's time, won't get them to put through a whole credit process and then come and tell them a month later, sorry, no go. We can find out really quickly whether we can help this business or not. So if you're growing, but you're frustrated, you're hamstrung, and you can't get goods, or you can't employ someone you need to employ, or get that piece of equipment you need to get, come and have a chat to us, because we'll certainly love to help.
I'm glad that you mentioned, obviously those points that you raised there, and I'm just thinking, with freight costs having gone through the roof,
Oof, terrible, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's a travesty, actually. They, by doing invoice financing, they're going to have that freer cash to be able to negotiate with the suppliers, like you said, and it's really important that you can do that, especially when you've got these other external costs that you can't control, such as freight and fuel, and the logistics as well, being, internally with couriers and transportation. As I say to most people, if no change, no change. If you don't change, you'll be on the hamster wheel. So for those of you who are watching this right now, the Engine is a leading service provider to the Regional Business Partner Program, and we are also involved in the Auckland Unlimited Tamariki funding program. And if you were to work with us in financial advice, we would work with you on a three-way cash flow modelling, and then we would refer you to somebody like ScotPac, who would be able to help you look at that facility. When I say somebody like ScotPac, it is a facility for business to business. There are some industries that it can't work in, but for the most part, we would refer you to ScotPac Business Finance as a finance solution to help you sleep well at night. So, Greg, it's been a real pleasure. It's always a pleasure having you on a call with me, and really miss seeing your face up here in Auckland. But hey, look, Taranaki's not too far away, and I'm sure we'll see you back up here in our big smoke soon.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me too, Catherine. It's been a great chat. And like I say, as always, love our conversations, and I'll be up. Don't worry, you haven't got rid of me just yet. As soon as those traffic lights go from whatever colour to whatever colour, I'll be up there.
Awesome. Hey, take care and have a great day. And all the viewers out there, make the change happen for the better. Get in touch with us. We're here to help you.